For Week 8, and just as a reminder, the reading assignments are Chapter 15 and, corresponding to the text chapter assigned, the supplemental treatment provided by the Notes to Syllabus document. You don't have to hand in the following assignment, but you are expected to work through the Chapter 15 end-of-chapter technical questions and even-numbered application questions to ensure thorough preparation for the examination that will be administered. As you know, the text provides solutions to the previously identified even-numbered questions, so you can readily check to see that you are on the right track when addressing these questions. As part of the weekly assignment, remember you should select and be prepared to discuss a current business or economic event reported or analyzed by a prominent national publication that reflects the relationship presented by the reading assignment. As you no doubt have gathered from media reporting over the past several years, international trade is a subject that has garnered a great deal of attention. Suffice it to say, a good many aspects surrounding the impact of the foreign sector on the U.S. domestic economy often are not well understood by a variety of parties, media, ordinary citizens, politicians, etc. For example, it's not unusual for trade deficits to be confused with federal budget deficits, and the balance of trade not infrequently is conflated with the balance of payments. So, as we extend our macroeconomic framework of analysis into a globalized context, let's first establish several basic measures in furtherance of our ability to analyze a number of international relationships. A country's import of goods and services, minus its exports of goods and services, represent the components of this domestic economy's balance of trade measure. A country's current account includes the balance of trade, receipts on domestic assets held abroad, payments on foreign assets held domestically, and unilateral transfers. If the sum of all current account components is positive, this value represents inflows into the domestic economy. If the sum of all current account components is negative, this value represents outflows from the domestic economy. The major components of a country's financial account are represented by changes in foreign holdings of a domestic country's assets, real and financial, minus changes in domestic holdings of foreign assets, real and financial. If the sum of all financial account components is positive, this value represents inflows into the domestic economy. If the sum of all financial account components is negative, this value represents outflows from the domestic economy. The balance of payments essentially is a record of a country's entire international transactions, current account and financial account. By definition, total assets equal total liabilities plus owner's equity on a corporate balance sheet. Analogously, it is an accounting identity that a positive current account balance must be matched by a negative financial account balance, and vice versa. Why is this the case? By way of example, suppose the U.S. runs a trade deficit, that is, dollar value of imports exceeds the dollar value of exports. As a result, foreign entities will now be the owners of dollars. If these entities are to earn a return on the dollars held, the dollars must be used to purchase dollar-denominated assets. In general, you do not purchase a foreign asset in a foreign country with dollars. Instead, the transaction is consummated by using its foreign country's matching foreign currency. If the dollars held by foreign entities are used to purchase U.S. Treasury bonds offered for sale by the U.S. Treasury at open auction, then the outflow of dollars from the U.S. current account deficit is matched by the inflow of dollars to the U.S. financial account resulting from foreign purchases of U.S. Treasury bonds. Now, holding all other factors unchanged, we might initially suspect that the trade deficit previously described would place downward pressure on the exchange rate value of the U.S. dollar. An exchange rate represents the price of one currency in relation to another currency. After all, and from the U.S. perspective, dollars have to be sold to purchase the foreign currency ultimately required to make payment for imported goods. And from a foreign perspective, foreign currency must be sold to purchase the dollars ultimately required to make payment for goods exported by the U.S. to the foreign country. In the case of a trade deficit, more net dollars are sold than are purchased. Using a supply and demand framework of analysis, a net increase in the demand for dollars, holding the supply of dollars unchanged, should result in a lower equilibrium price of dollars, in other words, the dollar exchange rate, in the context of this international application. Consistent with the previous scenario I described, these dollars are being used to purchase U.S. Treasury bonds. Thus, the inflow of dollars into the U.S. matches the outflow of dollars from the U.S. The U.S. consistently has recorded trade deficits since the 1970s. Foreign entities now hold roughly $2.5 trillion worth of U.S. Treasury securities. There are other factors involved, interest rates, inflation, GDP growth, etc. But the balance of payments relationship provides a good deal of insight into the relative stability and strength of the U.S. dollar exchange rate against the world's major currencies over the decades. On a subject related to trade deficits, let's consider the impact of U.S. trade deficits on U.S. GDP. It's not what you might think, particularly in light of the following relationship: GDP equals C plus I plus G plus X minus M. Based on this GDP, gross domestic product expenditure, relationship, we might at initial inspection suspect that trade deficits, X minus M less than 0, lower GDP. Keep in mind, however, that imports are consumed domestically, so the value of C, domestic consumption expenditure, rises as imports rise. To avoid counting the increase in domestic C as a consequence of imports, M, we subtract the value of M. That said, there are a great many nuances associated with a proper interpretation of how trade deficits impact the U.S. economy. For example, there is no doubt that trade has resulted in U.S. job losses in a number of industries. On the other hand, a country whose GDP, national income, growth is stronger than that of its trading partners can expect to record a trade deficit. After all, if you experience a significant increase in your disposable income, wouldn't you spend more on a variety of goods and services? The same is true for a country, and some of this additional spending by a country would be for imports. Thus, when it comes to arriving at a judicious assessment of the impact on an economy exerted by trade deficits, the details matter, as does the time frame under examination. Essentially, the United States operates under what is known as a flexible exchange rate regime. Under this arrangement, and for the most part, the dollar's exchange rate value is determined by market forces. A fixed exchange rate regime is one in which the government determines the exchange rate value of a country's currency. Prior to 2005, and as an example, China operated under a fairly rigid fixed exchange rate regime.